snare drum.
Okay, so Peters Intermediate 3. There's a good bit to talk about that we have not seen yet. A lot of stuff happening that we have seen in Etude 1 and 2. So let's talk about that. But first, here is the full playthrough of the Etude. One of the hardest parts that younger students are going to have with this one is just counting it in 6/8. A lot of times just having a lot of counts happening within a measure will freak people out. So consistently what I do is just count in sets of 3 if I have a something 8. So 6/8, 3/8, 9/8, 12/8, doesn't matter. I will just count in sets of 3. So the first measure here is 1 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and. That's how I count it. If you are going verbatim for the 6/8 count, it's 1 and 3, 4 and 5 and 6 and. To me, that just sounds like there's a lot going on, and it really muddles my brain a little bit as I'm counting. It's just way too many numbers. I'm horrible with numbers. I'm horrible with math. So I just keep it simple. 1 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and. And even if I'm doing higher numbers, like I said, 9/8, 12/8, 1 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and. Same thing. Just counting in sets of 3. So one of the harder aspects of this one is the subdivision and the just syncopation involved in the later third of this piece. So in the 8th and 9th lines, we're seeing a lot of 1 and, 3 and, 2 and, 1. A lot of that is going to be really hard for younger players, but it's going to be so useful to learn that tool of syncopation and subdividing very early on, because that happens so much within the percussion music of intermediate, advanced, even some of the early stuff. And spoiler alert, the later etudes are going to rely heavily on this. So we need to get used to it now before we move on further within this etude book and the advanced Peters etude book. So one thing about dynamics, which we have talked about in the previous 2, is that we have, for the first 75% of this piece, we have either forte or piano. We have nothing in this in-between layer until the last 3 lines, where we finally hit a mezzo piano and a mezzo forte. We need to make sure that these are true forte and piano every single time. Because if we start to dip in to that mezzo section, we're gonna lose the credibility when we're actually supposed to play there. Also with dynamics, there's a lot of crescendo, decrescendo happening. So just like before, we need to make sure that our 3 rules of dynamic change are all happening at the same time. So we need to change velocity of the stroke, we need to change the height of the stroke, and then we need to change where we're playing on the drum. And in the full performance, you really see how much movement is happening between piano, which is closer to the rim, and then more of the forte, which is not dead center, but it's right off center, further away from you. One last thing about dynamics is that we are moving between those extreme levels at a much quicker rate in number 3 than we did in Etude 1 and 2. So just to review, if you don't know, that forte stroke, if we want to stay down to quickly play a piano stroke, we need to grip within our bottom 2 fingers a little bit, not a death grip by any means, just a little squeeze so that rebound doesn't happen. And vice versa, if we're going from piano and we need to quickly get our heights up, that's all going to be wrist movement up. Very quick wrist up so that our heights can match the dynamic that we need to play. Peter's Intermediate 3 is done. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. Comment, tell me what you learned, how you do things different. I would love to know. And subscribe for future updates on this kind of video project, series, and other ones that I'm doing. All right, I'll see you in the next one.